Hi, this is Stephanie Ward at fireflycoaching.com. I'm here today with Michael Margolis of Get Storied, and he's going to share his tips on how to grow your business for small business owners. Hey, Michael.
Hey, Stephanie, what's up?
Tell us your juicy tips on how you've built your business overnight in 15 years.
Yeah, it's really a labor of love, and it's something that that takes quite a while in terms of when you're gathering a community of people from all around the world. You got to build relationships, and relationships take time, and it takes time to become comfortable revealing yourself. Like letting people know who you really are, and people to find common shared interests. So one of the things I did early on was I wrote a book in 90 days from the first word on paper to having it for sale on Amazon. This is back in 2009. And that was one of the ways that I really launched our platform, Get Storied, which is a global learning community devoted to transformational storytelling. Coaches, consultants, change agents, and creatives come to our community for a range of different programs, online courses around your personal story, around your brand story or the product you're offering and how to talk about that, especially when you're doing something that's really innovative. But having that book, and it's a short book, it's small, it's 90 pages, it's got a bright yellow cover, it's got a high cuddle factor, you can sleep with it at night, you can read it in 2 hours. And people love this thing. Stephanie, that's one of the first ways that you got in contact and discovered our world and what we're doing. So the book as a conversation starter is a really powerful device.
I love that. I love what you said at the very beginning about how relationships take time, and because that will never change, no matter how many social media tools and platforms are created. It just simply takes time. And this idea to create something like this book that leverages your ideas so people can access it. I love that. That's a great tip. Do you have any other ideas about what small business owners can do to be seen or show themselves?
Well, I'm a huge believer in the power of the about page. This is something that we take for granted, yet before any business meeting, you've been Googled.
Right.
And Google's basically become the background check. So before any meeting, right? People are experiencing your story before they experience you in real life. People are deciding if they like you, if they trust you, if they want to do business with you, do they identify and resonate with what you're about? And all of this is happening without you in the room, which is a bit of an existential, oh crap, for most of us. Brings up every insecurity and vulnerability we all have. I started figuring this out because I had this myself. I've been chronically unemployable my whole career. 15 years, I've always created jobs. I've been kind of a career independent this whole time. So I quickly learned, wow, as a trusted advisor, as a speaker, an author, as a consultant, I'm being hired for my story. And I bet you are too, Stephanie, and I bet everybody who's watching this is as well. We forget this. Yeah. So how do we tell that story? So we have a whole course online that breaks that down. But we also have tons of free resources that help people to understand that of how do you communicate sort of your market positioning. One of the ways we teach this is what's called the who you are, what you do, and who you serve. And having really clear statement about that out of the gate so that people understand, like for us, we work, all of our online programs are for coaches, consultants, change agents, and creatives. Basically anybody that's in the business of transformation that has a really big story to tell, yet is sort of wrestling with how to best express that. That's who we serve. All of our programs are designed for someone like that who wants to tell a story worth living, that people want to be a part of. So anyways, you want to establish that really clearly in your about page and make it relevant to others. And then once you've done that, then you can tell people a little bit more about your own backstory. Because the moment people are interested in something, then they're like, oh, well, how'd you get into that? Yeah. Then people want to know your background. They want to know, well, where did this come from? Yeah. People are always asking me, Michael, how'd you get into storytelling? What a unique profession in the way. People always want to know that, but it's only after that relevance has been established. So there's an art and a science to the about page, which, by the way, is the top 5 page that people visit on your website, and people spend 30% more time on your about page than any other page on your website. So there's a lot that's at stake in the about page that really serves as the invitation into relationship.
I love that. That is such a great tip about how much time is spent there. And I'm going to include a link to Michael's program below the video, so make sure you check that out here. And then the other thing I love that you said was about the clarity, that it's so important that to be able to communicate and connect with people, you have to be clear about that. So it's not even about the marketing until you're clear first.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And clarity is so critical of really taking something really complex and distilling it down to its essence. And that's again what the power of story is all about, going from generics to specifics. And yet, so many professionals who are career independent, even if you've been doing this for a while, you feel like you're still trying to figure it out. I've been doing this for 15 years. I still am trying to figure it out. I'm constantly reinventing and tweaking and adjusting and right-sizing the vision and figuring out what am I built for? What's my constitution and how do I want to structure the work as an expression of that? So my one advice to everybody is, while yes, you want more clarity, but remember that you don't need to have the answers. What you want to focus on is having the right questions.
Ooh.
And inviting people into those questions. So it's like, what are the questions at the core of your inquiry? You know, for me, those questions, the way it started, my core question for many, many years was, how do you take anything new and different and translate that into cultural acceptance, right? Like that process, kind of the made to stick, idea virus, like why do some ideas stick and others fail? Like that was the core of my inquiry when I first started 15 years ago, and that's what brought me to story, you know, in the process of innovation. These days, my inquiry is more about how to awaken and enliven the heart. That process and even like making, you know, and really bringing more of that through the work, because the heart of the storyteller becomes the heart of the story.
Yeah.
And exploring that, how do we bring more of our wholehearted self into our work and expressed through our message? So, you know, our questions can change over time, but it's still the same fundamental work. But you may not have the answers, and that's okay. Just figure out what are some of the questions that are part of the inquiry. And those become the things that you blog about, that you create videos about, that you host webinars on, that your e-newsletter is focused on, whatever different marketing tactics. You're inviting people to go on a journey with you. I just went nomad as of July 1st. So that's a huge theme for me, is I sold off most of my possessions. I live out of a suitcase. Sometimes it's 2 to 4 months at a time in one specific city. Other times it's every 2 to 5 days I'm in a new city. And it kind of goes through cycles, but I'm exploring the stories we inhabit, both myself, right, as well as like the human experience. And people, my whole community actually, it's been a game changer, because this next chapter is something I've always wanted to do. It's making me feel more alive, and it speaks to something that so many of us dream to do or have a relationship with. So that's become a really great sort of point of intersection where people are like, they're on the journey with me. You know, and now you guys are on the journey as well. So, you know, go to getstory.com. Actually, if you go to getstory.com/redpill, you can we have a free email course that introduces you to transformational storytelling. It will tell you more about my background and how I came to this, which is really about the yoga of story and the shamanic side to this work, which up until last November for 15 years, I never told that part of the story. It was like the thing I was so afraid to share with people, and since I have, a lot has changed, and there's a lot more freedom and space that I have around the work. So if that appeals to you, go check out getstory.com/redpill, and and a lot more we'll be sharing around this unfolding and going nomad and in the different parts of the stories, you know, like what stories we choose to inhabit, which is really, at the end of the day, what all of us are doing, you know, of so many people going through change in their lives or change in their organization. And it's all about identity. Like, what story do you identify with? And is it the right story for the future you want to create? So a lot of our passion, you know, is teaching narrative intelligence, becoming more conscious about those distinctions of of the storytelling process that we all are already doing. We're just not always conscious of it. So, fun stuff.
No, that's amazing. You said a lot there.
Sorry, I'm not usually at a loss of words once you get me going.
That's good. But just to wrap up this last bit of about you don't have to have all the answers, and that really get in touch with the questions. I love that.
Yes.
And also that it's a process.
It is.
And just enjoy the journey. And that last bit about revealing your the secret side of your story and how that's opened things up. This is a message for everyone in the community. Don't be afraid. Go ahead and go there and share that stuff.
Yes, and at the same time, though, remember that you have to. Sometimes it takes some time to be at a place where you can share the secret stuff, because whenever we're sharing our story to the world, it's not about us. Right? And it's really easy with social media now and the age we live in. It's like, oh, I have a story. I want the world to know about my story. Gosh darn it, I'm special. I'm important. Like, it's catnip for our ego. And there's a lot of mental masturbation with the way that we're sharing our stories out there. So remember, when you're sharing your story, you're doing it in service to your audience. So you have to ask yourself, like, why am I sharing this?
That's a great
What's
point.
the gift of this? How does this help somebody else to orient themselves in their life and work of the journey that they're on? Because it's not just about stroking our own ego. Then that's where, after a while, people are like, that's the turnoff. And that's the thing a lot of us are afraid of, where we go, it's not about my story. I'm serving others. So it works both ways. Sometimes we forget, though, those of us who are into serving everybody else. And we go, no, not my story. I don't have a story. Right?
So it's a balance, really.
It's striking that balance, because if you don't have a story, and there's a lot of people, who many of us have studied some contemplative tradition, or you're trained as a psychotherapist. There's a lot of professional paths we've been told, oh, it's not about you. Let that part go. And that's half the truth. That's half the story. Because if you don't have a story, Stephanie, I don't know how to be in relationship with you. I don't know where to place you. I don't know how to relate to you. So we have to give people a story, and we also have to learn how not to be so attached to that one version of it, because it's constantly evolving. There's no pat answers to this.
Right.
It's a yogic process, but we teach specific frameworks and approaches to how you can put this stuff into practice, because we all need to have ways, mental models and approaches that you can actually start working with your story. But it's not the get rich quick scheme of because that doesn't translate as something real and authentic to people. You got to do the work.
I love that. You got to do the work, people. Don't forget that. It's not overnight. It's not always easy. You have got to do the work.
Well, and not only you got to do the work, but I would add to it, Stephanie, that you can't outsource your voice.
That's a major quote. You can't outsource your voice. Okay, I'll put that down as a tweetable below the video.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And it's like we can get people to support us in the process, and actually the hardest story to tell is always our own. This is what we struggle with. We could be so good at coaching anybody else around their story, or consulting to a wide range of groups. Our own story, we're like the fish who can't see the water. This is timeless. 99% of the people I've met in all my life, and I work with everybody from Google to Greenpeace to creatives and entrepreneurs. The hardest story we have is our own. We can't see it because we're too close to it. So that's the value of having a coach and a consultant or others who work with you. But at the end of the day, you can't outsource your voice. There's something that you need to get in touch with and ultimately lay claim of. And you can throw as much money as you want against the wall. There's a part of this where you got to lean into it. And know, though, that you want people to hold your hand through it too, or to have some structure and process as you go about it.
Wow. Okay. That were so many good tips, so many valuable things. Thank you so much, Michael, for talking with us. And do go to getstarted.com. I will put all the links below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.